All right, everybody. Beautiful day. All righty there.
Good. You say what?
Yep, ready.
Okay.
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1.
Hey, folks, welcome back to your Frederick Real Estate Update. I am Darren Aher with RE/MAX Results. Hope you're enjoying this beautiful weekend. Finally, it's gotten better, and the weather is nice. And I also have with me the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, with all the money over in that bank vault, Presidential Bank Mortgage, Mr.
Terry Kernan.
Hi, buddy. How we doing?
Great. How are you?
All right. How the kids are back to school, and this is the week we've been fighting with school buses already. I can't believe it happened this soon. I didn't realize I thought it was next week school start.
Yeah, no, they're starting early. I think they tried to start at Labor Day.
Yeah, what was that happening?
I don't know. My kids are all grown, but our first grandchild, Kayla, Terry and Sheila's daughter, is actually starting school this week.
It's cool.
3-year-old program down at St. Elizabeth's in Rockville. So very cool. Getting back into the school scene.
Well, my two ones, they're still homeschooled, so they don't start until the beginning of September or so. So they get a little more extra time, but they'll be all right. So let's get right on into it. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Make sure last week we had Kenny McLean, our appraiser, on. Amazing, great program we had. And the video thing, I apologize, didn't work out well on the YouTube thing, so I'm going to have to redo some things. But we have it on the audio, WFMD.com. In the drop down, make sure that you visit there. And I will put that on my Facebook page here, the audio part of that, the link, and on YouTube as well if I can. So we're going to work on that. Anyways, inventory. This time last year, Terry, end of August last year, 257 homes. And that included new homes and everything.
Right?
That was all of it.
Yeah, that was very low number.
Yeah, remember them days? I remember the day we got the 99 homes resale. That I don't think we'll ever see that again.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Now we're at 392. We've been hovering right around that 400 mark. Coming soon, 50 homes. Coming soon, all of the resales, 284 resales, 29 median days, average time market. For the first time, the average got the 50 days. So it's taken a little longer still by a tiny bit. And some of that's mostly seasonal and overall is what I think. Median price, $548. The resale single family homes, $194. And that was 40-day median, 58 average time on the market with 600,000. So that's been staying pretty steady overall. But Kenny had mentioned like how we still have values going up. But it's still happening a little bit. Resale townhouse condo is 90 of those at 33 days, 425 price. New construction, 108. It's I wonder if we're always going to stay just above 100, between 100 and 120, with 54 single family homes at 979 average, and townhouses, 54 of those also, which I had to take a double take. I was like, wait a minute, same matching number, but at 512,000. So that's crept up a tiny bit. And then under contract, 509. And I think we're peaking out pretty much. And new homes, 193, 316 resales at 19 days at 450 price. The new single family homes, 69 of those at 737, and 124 to the townhouse condo type at 476. So that's the latest and greatest of inventory. Sold in the last 30 days, 350.
Okay.
283 resales at 20 days at 509. Single family homes, 168 of them, 22 days at 6.25. And townhouses, 115 of those, 16 days at 391. New construction, 67 homes in 30 days. So we're still seeing, like I said, that's the pace we've seen. 2 brand new a day pretty much is selling in the county. 28 days is the 28 single family homes at 715, 39 townhouses at 472. The list price ratio hanging on right at 100%. Year to date, 2,288 homes we have sold in the county. Year to date, 388 new builds, 1,889 resales, with an average time all year long of 24 days on the market, with a median price of 470 and an average of 514 at 100.8%. So there are the numbers. So there you go.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a slowdown in loan applications, and oddly enough, we saw it, right around the 4th of July, and then we really saw it get slow when rates dropped. So I think it further says people are on vacation, and I'm going to wait until this whole thing settles out and we figure out what's going on. But we are starting to see phone call after phone call about refinances.
Yep.
So I've been talking to people about, hold off on the refinances.
Hold off a little bit longer. Yeah.
Now's not the time to jump on the refinance market unless you really, really feel that you have to. You have to get money out. You got to pay off credit card debt. You have to send a kid to college. Whatever the case is, if you can hang on a little longer, I think that that's the right thing to do. And please, please, please beware that there will be people that will send you information, call you, email you saying that they can get you an interest rate of 4.5%. And when it actually comes into play, it's really not there. And it's kind of a bait and switch. And
how in the world do these companies get along with it? How do they get away with that kind of stuff? I don't get it.
There's so many of them, and they're not real big players.
Okay.
That it's kind of like it's hard to police them, right? So you can't really just too much of a pain, I guess. But that's kind of what gives our name a bad name in the business. Okay, is the internet lenders that will badger you, that will buy your information from a credit reporting agency, and it will, and they'll call and call and call. It's just awful what they're allowed to do.
Well, the good news is you guys are honest and upright, and you give the real deal, the numbers, and what it is, and give professional advice. Like you said, a lot of these online people, not only are they giving something that is like really not real, or they're charging outrageous fees to get what is not real, maybe, and they're somehow, nobody's doing it for free, right? It's just like our business.
And we all get our money from the same places.
Right.
So it's
but at least you're honest enough to say, hey, I don't think these online companies or anybody else, hardly anybody I know is going to be like, oh, wait the refinance. Like, we'll get back to you. We'll be polite whenever you're ready. Or no, like you said, it's all high pressure, bait and switch and all that kind of stuff like that. And it's really a shame because they don't have to meet somebody. They don't have to go through the pros and cons. Is this the right time for me? And the reasoning and what all those factors and that stuff. So I think that's what separates being a professional, having a heart of a teacher, and that's guiding someone and helping somebody in a manner that's really out for their best interest rather than our own, knowing that that's only going to translate into more referral business and repeat, and people are going to love and trust us. So that's the thing I appreciate, but man, that's just crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
And we are right at, I guess, depending on loan type, a little bit above 6 and everything. Things have come down, but I did want to ask you, with this whole thing with the job numbers, the revisions, and those things. What are your thoughts? How does that affect things in the mortgage world?
So on Wednesday, the BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, they came out and they revised the employment figures. They revised the job data from March 2023 to March 2024. So one full year, they revised the data. And they revised the numbers that they took away, not 8,000, not 18,000, not 80,000, but 818,000 jobs that they reported that were created were never created. And this is a problem. This is a huge problem. First of all, it's the credibility. But think about this, Darren. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, you have to know what you're doing because the information that you present determines which way stocks are going. It determines which way rates are going. So by letting people know that all these jobs were created, so basically 30% of the job market
is that what the percentage is? Yeah,
30%. 30% of the jobs that were reported were never actually created. And that's an astounding figure. That's an average of 68,000 jobs per month. So if we went through from March 2023 to March 2024, if we went through that time at 68,000 less jobs per month, that were out there, then our rates probably would be in a whole different situation.
Really?
We would probably have lower rates right now because they would have to act on higher unemployment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's scary that this is the data that the Fed goes off of to make their monetary policy decisions.
Yeah, right.
So the Fed is going to feel some additional pressure. And we've all said the Fed is going to cut rates in September. Anybody that doesn't think that, you're on an island by yourself. So the question is, how big of a cut are we going to see?
Right.
Everybody says, well, we'll probably get a 1/4 point cut. But this added data, and I've been saying it on the show for the last month and a half, is that they've got to get ahead of the curve. They got to get ahead of these jobs numbers. I keep saying that the jobs numbers, they keep increasing. So we are pushing ourselves into a recession. If we don't start cutting rates right now in September, then we will most likely head ourselves right into the eye of a recession. Now, do we want that? No, we do not want that at all.
Nope.
We want that soft landing that I've talked about. These job numbers, in my opinion, are going to force the hand of the Feds to cut interest rates by 1/2 in September. Everybody thinks it's going to be 1/4. I've been saying 1/2. I'm going to still stick with the 1/2. We're going to see 1/2 cut is my guess in September. But the Fed now has all these jobs that were never created that they had based so much of their previous data and movement on that I think it's going to force them into cutting 1/2. But the interesting thing is the last 3 Fed rate cut cycles.
Right.
Okay, the last 3 cycles where rates were cut by the Feds. The first cut in all 3 of those cycles was a 1/2 point cut. So I feel that history is going to continue. I feel history is going to repeat itself and basically going to show us a 0.5% cut, which will create that momentum with rates going down. Oddly enough, it'll be the momentum that that people want going into the general election, and we'll see what happens.
Wow. Do you think there's a chance to stay ahead? Like you talk about staying ahead of what could be coming a little bit more. Is it possible that they, for whatever reason, is it possible they could cut it 3/4 of a point? Has that even been considered, or is that even possible based on what has now become truth?
That's a great question because if they cut it 1/2, it's going to create some uneasiness in the market. Okay, if they cut it 1/4, everybody will be like, "Yeah, hey, that's what we thought. You know, let's move on."
Okay.
If they cut it 1/2, there's going to be a little bit of uneasiness. Like, why are they cutting it 1/2? Is something wrong?
So the more they cut,
the more they cut, it's not the more they cut is not the more excitement it creates. The more they cut it at once is kind of the more uneasiness that it creates.
Well, who's uneasy?
Well, the investors, the people that determine rates, the economists. So if they come in and they cut it 0.375, they cut it 0.75%, everybody's going to go, okay, what's wrong? And then everybody's going to say, we're in a recession. And that'll create a little bit of pandemonium. That'll create a little bit of fear. And what do I always say? Fear breeds fear. Pandemonium breeds pandemonium. So I do not want to see a 0.75% cut. I feel that a 0.5% cut is going to solidify that they are jumping ahead of the curve. If they do a 0.75 cut, it's going to signal that they realize that they should have started cutting rates previously, and they're trying to catch up. Kind of like when they raised rates, they didn't raise rates in time. And remember, things got crazy when they were adding 3/4 of an increase in rates every 6 weeks. It'll give the same effect.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, there you go.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because for consumers, man, let's be honest. If somebody's like, okay, here's the thing that Terry, I think I just explained this to a seller last night. She had thought that my seller thought that, well, is it should I wait to put my home into the market after the Fed meets if rates are going to come down, because that will create more buyer demand and I'll have more buyers potentially for my home. There you go. So there again, my answer was, wait a minute. We've already seen mortgage rates come down. When the Fed meets, actually, let's just say it's a quarter or a half, doesn't matter which, it doesn't mean that we're going to go from 6.5% to 6% for a conventional and all the other loans way lower into the fives immediately. That's not going to happen. That would be nice. I mean, personally, I think if everything shifted the exact same way, it would be really predictable in some regard, right? I mean, it would just be more predictable, but that's not the truth of what you have shared that happens. They stay ahead of it. So I said to her, no, it's not going to change in a way like car loans or HELOCs or personal loans or credit cards. Those are going to change right away, but not mortgages. I said, if anything, this is going to sound crazy. We actually may see the rates go down a little bit and then go back up to where they are now or even higher. And she's like, what?
Yes.
How could that happen? Like, that doesn't make sense. And I said, that's the whole problem. None of it flows in the same way and works the exact same way for all the things that interest rates are tied to. So any other thoughts on that? Did I give her the right answer? I hope I gave her some of the right answer.
You gave her a great answer. So sometimes more, and I don't want to say more often than not, but it's not uncommon for our mortgage rates to go up when the Fed makes a cut. Okay? Because we talked about baking in the data. We talk about, well, when they cut rates in September, the market has already baked that into their analysis.
There you go.
And so when they say bake it in, they're predicting now that they're going to cut in September. The question is, how much are they going to bake in? Are they baked in? Right now, they baked in a 0.25% cut.
There you go.
They may bake in a 0.5% cut. But right now, I don't want to see a 0.75% cut, as I talked about. But I think you gave them a good answer, because we really don't know what goes on in the investors, the people that buy the mortgage-backed securities, how they move that investment to be profitable. Yes.
Like, that's almost like the Wizard of Oz. Like, who's behind the curtain? Who's speaking this stuff? Who's doing this? Who's pulling them chains, right?
Yeah. It's a very complicated, complex, I scratch the surface with what I report here.
Right.
And I try to keep it as
layman terms as best possible.
I try to dummy it down as much as I can, because when I explain it, it helps me understand it even more when I kind of formulate it into the easy, because, it is very complicated. It is very intricate but I try to make it just a little simpler and a lot of it is, how people feel.
Yeah. And of course, I have said over and over, Terry, I said to myself, also, and a few others recently, if rates go to like 5%, 5.5%, like there's those buyers that are holding out and they're like, I'm not buying a house until it's in the fives, like it already is for FHA and VA and all. But I mean, they're talking like if they're putting down 20% of conventional loan, they're like, it's got to be 5%. And I'm thinking, do you understand what you're asking for? You think that's going to be more affordable. And then if you listen to Kenny last week, our appraiser, we're already up almost 9 to 10% double-digit appreciation. Okay, let's put that in perspective. You ready, Terry? If somebody a year ago, this time last year, if I had a $500,000 home for sale, according to our appraiser, who's smart and knows his numbers, that same house now, if that buyer waited to buy the same house that's $500,000 a year ago, according to our appraiser, it's now $550,000. In a mortgage, is that not somewhere $50,000 extra loan, $50,000? Isn't that something like $350 a month more in payment?
About
$350 a month. Okay, so if you bought that same house a year ago, so there you go. And so if you go backwards a year, where were interest rates versus now? Were interest rates a difference that somebody would have saved $350 a month in their payment. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
Yeah.
like
so what you're actually saying is, does it make sense to buy now because of the continuing appreciation? And the answer is yes.
right.
Okay. Don't worry about rates. Rates are going to come down.
There you go.
know that you're going to actually refinance, have the opportunity to refinance in the next 18 months if you get a low rate now.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, now is a good time
It's
because we're seeing continual appreciation.
Yep.
And when rates start coming down, appreciation does not go away when rates come down. It usually goes away when rates go up.
Right.
Appreciation slows down or becomes negative appreciation.
Mhm.
It actually depreciates when rates go up, especially at a large clip. What we saw over the last 2 years with rates going up and appreciation still happening, I can't even recall when that ever
I was gonna
made
say,
sense that it happened.
that
but it
dynamic
did.
is so unique.
And the dynamic, Darren, goes to one thing: is supply.
Yep, supply and demand.
Supply and demand.
Supply.
Uh,
And that's the thing. Even though we see inventory in a year has doubled, like Kenny said, we need 300 more homes in Frederick County and in the other counties in the area. 200, 300, 400 homes at least to come into the market to be able to offset, balanced the buyer demand. Give you a good idea about it. Okay, this last week, remember last week I had the house for sale out in Woodsboro, $765,000 home, right? Gorgeous house. Upper end, it's above the average market, right? In my head, I'm thinking, wow, if we get like showings, open house I did, if we get like 8 showings, 10 showings, man, that's good right now in this time of the year where interest rates are, where buyer demand is. Like looking at every factor, if we get 8 or 10 showings, I told the seller, hey, you're doing good. And if you get 1 offer, 2 offers, that's good. That's what we want. That's what we want. So here's what happens. To my surprise, 2 ways. Couldn't have made this up. In 2 days' time before the open house, we had 8 showings from other agents. At the open house last Saturday, guess how many people came through? And I believe it's because I do a kick butt job marketing homes. That's my business too.
So 10.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had. 10 families came through. So we had 18 showings in 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right?
Okay.
On Monday, offers due. Out of 18 showings, I mean, these guys were interested. They ain't coming to almost an $800,000 home just to kick tires. These buyers, they're very interested right now. They're not on vacation.
None of them were neighbors.
They're not neighbors. They're not on vacation. They're not getting their kids ready for school. I mean, these are people that are like, this is what we want. This is a nice place. We've been looking for something like this. There's not a lot of inventory out there, anything like that. So here would be my question. 6 months ago or a year ago, how many offers do you think we would have gone on that home?
I want to say conservatively 4.
Yeah.
Based on what was going on in that market level, but 3 to 4
That's
maybe.
Yep.
Is that what? Am I right?
Yeah, that's what I thought could happen based on 6 or 12 months ago. But as far as today, we got 1 offer.
Okay.
Excellent offer. Thank God. I can't tell anybody what it is because it's under contract, and I got to protect my seller, and that's my fiduciary responsibility as an agent. But I can just tell you this: it was a really good offer. Thank God it wasn't this low ball. It wasn't this or that. It was a good offer. Now, were my sellers disappointed? No, they're not disappointed. Was I surprised? I said 18 showings, 1 offer. What does that tell us about buyers' mentality right now? What's the first thing that you think of?
The first thing that I think of, and it's the thing that I hear, is I'm not in a hurry. Am I?
Yeah, there's no urgency. Like, I'm not in a hurry. There's no real hurry.
There's no urgency. Kids are going back to school. I'm not being forced to move. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing is people aren't in a hurry.
Yep. And I explained this to my seller last night. I was at a listing in Westminster, and she had some good questions and things. We covered a lot of ground, and she said, Darren, is it best to wait till the springtime? We don't have a crystal ball. I said, we have no crystal ball at all. We have no idea where rates will be, where buyer demand will be, sellers, like your competition will be probably higher in the community because right now there's nothing. And so as we talked everything through and I showed her data and it explained that urgency, like all kinds of ideas, she said, okay, even though values are going up, and she's like, I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to like miss the mark by $10 and have to reduce my price and be part of those 40% of people that have already reduced their price because they missed the mark. She's like, I don't want none of that. She goes, I need you to tell me where to be that we can sell this home within the next month and I'm golden. I'm good. We're not playing games. Where to be at? Just a tiny bit aggressive, and I think we hit the nail on the head almost, and we're going to find out coming up. And she felt really good about it because
Good.
Why? Gave her a lot of great information, explained a lot of things, and she came to her own conclusion and realized, yeah, I have a professional on my side, and I don't want to mess around with this. So we have about 2 minutes, Terry. Wow, that's good stuff we covered because this is where we're at in the markets and in our economy and world. We've been talking the most common 22 questions from buyers, sellers, renters. Terry, what we're going to cover next week is this. Number one is one of the big things I want to tackle and get into, which is really good, is about how do you agents, with all that's been going on, buyer agency, these new agreements, we can't even see a house without signing one, and commissions, we hear they're more negotiable than ever, and on and on and on, and who pays for what, and how's it all work? I've already touched a little bit of that, but I'm going to go over, Terry, again, our compensation and what are the options and how that really works. Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Give me a question.
Question is, like I always look online at listings, and in a lot of listings I'm seeing this week say, buyer concessions will be considered if the price is right. What does that mean?
What? Wait a minute.
Buyer concessions will be considered if built into the price.
Go to the price. So
is that talking about the real estate commission?
Yeah, so this is where everything's now not a set, decided, here's what's being offered. Seller can still do that. But now sellers can hold back and say, well, we're going to give agent compensation, closing cost help. It depends on the offer now. And I'm going to tell you this now, Terry, in the end of the day,
offer.
Yep.
That's going to cost.
That is going to cost buyers. It doesn't protect them. It's going to be bad news. This is what the government has done is muddy the waters. Everything was working fine. And what it's going to essentially do, it's going to cause more problems and more buyers frustrated potentially in some regard, all because of some ideas of price fixing, this, that, colluding, all these crazy things these lawyers came up with. I don't hate lawyers, but let's be honest. They got 33% and we still get less than 3 or less on a lot of terms in general at the end of the day. So we'll cover some of this stuff next week. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Thanks for tuning to your Frederick Real Estate Update. And Terry and I are always here to serve you. Take care now. Bye-bye.